Now let's talk about the double sampling plan. For double sampling plan, again, we have an incoming lot size, for example, n equals 10,000. And then we have sample size number 1, 120. C1 represents the acceptance number in sample 1. And then we have D1 represents the observed number of defectives in sample 1. And then we have sample size 2, N2 equals 80. And then the acceptance number in sample 2 equals 2. And then D2 represents the observed number of defectives in sample 2. Now let's talk about double sampling plan. Again, step 1, randomly take 120 samples, randomly from the lot. Step 2, inspect these 120 samples. And then step 3 is the decision part. So if we have D1 equals 0, our decision is accept lot. And at this point, we don't need second sample, so no second sample needed. No second sample needed. Because D1 here is less than 0, it's less than 2, which is C1. So D1 is less than C1, so we accept the lot directly. If D1 equals 1, our decision again is accept the lot without second sample. And if D1 equals 2, my decision again is to accept the lot, no second sample needed. So in this case, D1 equals 2, which equals 2C1. So D1 equals the acceptance number in sample 1. And let's say if D1 equals 3, our decision is second sample. Why? Because 3 here is less than C1 plus C2, which is 4. So because D1 is less than the total acceptance number 4, so we need to take second sample. And then if D1 equals 5, if D1 equals 4, again our decision is to take second sample. Why? Because 4 equals C1 plus C2. So it is still within the total acceptance range. So that's why we need to take second sample. If D1 equals 5 or 6 or 7 or larger, our decision is reject the lot. Again, no second sample needed. No second sample needed. Why? Because the defective in D1 is already greater than the total range, the total number of acceptance. So our decision is to reject the lot without second sample. So this is the first sample. And if we have D1 equals 3 or we have D1 equals 4, we need to take second sample. So right now we need to have step 4. Take sample size is 80 samples randomly from the remaining 10,000 subtract 120 equals 9,980 lot, because there's only that much left. And then step 5, inspect this 80 samples. And then step 6, that goes to our decision. Step 6, decision. Because there's only 2 scenarios when we need to take second sample. Number 1 is D1 equals 1. Number 2 is D1 equals 3. Or number 2 is D1 equals 4. So let's talk about when D1 equals 3. If I have D2 equals 0, my decision is accept the lot, because D1 plus D2 equals 3 at this point, which is less than C1 plus C2 equals 4. So this is the situation. The total number of defects is less than the total number of acceptance. That's why we accept the lot. So if D1 equals 3 and D2 equals 1, our decision is to accept the lot, because D1 plus D2 equals 4, which is still within the C1 plus C2 range. So we accept the lot. But if D2 equals 3, if D2 equals 2 or 3 or 4 or greater, let's say D2 equals 3, we have to reject the lot. Why? Because D1 plus D2 for this one equals 5, which is greater than C1 plus C2. So it's out of the acceptance range. And so does the when D2 equals 3. So this is scenario number 1 when D1 equals 3, how we take second sample. And when D1 equals 4, so this is second scenario, we need a second sample. When D1 equals 4, if D2 equals 0, we're going to accept lot, because D1 plus D2 equals C1 plus C2 equals 4. So we're still within the acceptance range. And if D2 equals 1 or D2 equals 2 or 3 or 4, we're going to reject the lot. Rejected the lot. Why? Because here D1 plus D2 equals 5, which is greater than C1 plus C2 equals 4. And so does D2 equals 2, then D1 plus D2 equals 6 is greater than 4. So we reject the lot. That's double sampling plan. That is double sampling plan.